It's time to make it. Just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to another episode of You Can Make It with David Farrell. I'm the old fat guy. Today I'm going to make something really luxurious, and that's lox. All lox is salmon that's been packed in salt and sugar and a few spices and then let it sit for a while to cure. And then you slice it thinly, serve it on a bagel with cream cheese is the traditional way of eating it. And it is so delicious, it is so fresh tasting, and it absolutely is wonderful on an Eggs Benedict if you replace the bacon with some lox. Now I'm going to do my lox a little differently because I'm going to smoke my lox to give it a little bit of extra flavor. Lox isn't traditionally smoked, but these days people do all kinds of things between lox and gravlox and call it all kind of different things. I'm going to put some smoke on it. But you don't have to. You can stop this recipe at the point at which I'm just about to put it in the smoker, and you'll have great lox. So don't worry if you don't have a smoker, just make unsmoked lox and you're actually being more traditional. Now what you have to start off with is a skinless piece of salmon fillet. Just get a nice big pretty piece like this and run your fingers on the surface of it to make sure there's no pin bones. If there are, just take a pair of tweezers or pliers and pull them out. This one's pretty good. So we've got a nice piece of salmon. Now the first thing we want to do is to make a bed for it. And the bed is going to be a tray with some plastic wrap on it, and then we're going to put some thin orange slices on the bread. Now this is not traditional lox either. This is what I do because I like ceviche from Mexico, which uses a little bit of citrus, and I like a little bit of citrus in my lox. So it's not quite traditional, but I really like it. So just take an orange, and you want to cut some very thin slices. And then you're going to want to spread those slices in about the shape of the salmon to make a bed about the size of the salmon fillet you have. Don't worry about being exact. You just want a good layer of orange over the whole piece of salmon. And if you get like me and you think you need a little bit longer, but a whole orange slice won't fit, just cut one in half and put it at the end like that. So we got a nice bed of thinly sliced orange. And what we're going to do now is mix up the salt pack for the salmon. So I've got a nice big bowl here. Now to make the salt pack depends on how much salmon you've got. If you were making it in metric, for every kilogram of salmon that you have, excuse me, you're going to add 165 milliliters of salt, 165 milliliters of brown sugar, 10 milliliters of white pepper, 5 milliliters of ground coriander, 5 milliliters of dried dill, and 3 grams or 2 milliliters of prog powder number 1. Now, prog powder number 1 is a curing salt. You don't have to use this if you're not smoking the salmon. The reason you use it, if you're smoking it, the salmon's going to be at a bit warmer temperature, and this helps inhibit bacterial growth. So if you're just making regular lox that you're going to slice without smoking, don't bother with it. It's optional. If you are going to smoke it though in a nice cold smoke, I recommend you add some Instacure. Now, it's called Instacure, it's called Prog number 1, it's called Pink Salt number 1, a whole bunch of different things. Just look for a product that's 6.25% sodium nitrite and 93.75% salt, and it will be fine. If you're working in pounds, in the old-fashioned way, you'd be using for each pound of salmon 1/3 of a cup of salt, 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon white pepper, 1/2 teaspoon ground coriander, 1/2 teaspoon dried dill, and 1/5 of a teaspoon of the prog powder if you're using it. So just put your salt and brown sugar in a bowl. You'll note there's lots of it. It's a real pack. You really want to pack the salmon in it. And then you're going to put in your white pepper, your ground coriander, your dried dill, and your prog powder if you're using it. So just put them in and mix them all around really well. go. And when they're all mixed together, you're going to want to put a good heavy layer of it onto your salmon. Put about half of it on one side. You see how thickly you're packing it. Now you won't be able to get quite all of half of it onto that surface. So you're going to take enough to make another half and sprinkle it over the oranges to make the rest of your salt pack for that. So you got about half the salt and brown sugar either on this or on your bed of oranges. You're just going to turn the salmon over onto the bed of oranges. And we'll just put the rest of the pack off the board there, and then shovel the last half of the pack over the salmon. Get a nice thick layer of it all over there. There's your salt pack for your salmon. Now I like 2 different kinds of citrus when I use a bit of citrus. So over that, after I wash my hands here, I'm going to put some lemon slices. So just give me a moment. And I have here some lemon. So we'll just slice that really thin as well. Now this is a pretty small lemon, so I'll likely do a second one, but we'll see. Just spread your lemon slices all over the surface of the salt pack. And I'll cut up some more slices from my second lemon here. Now that we've got the salmon all covered with the salt pack and with the lemons, we're just going to put another piece of plastic over the top of it and seal it all up. So I just happen to have another piece of plastic right here. And we'll just cover that over the salmon and crimp the edges in to get a good seal. Now with a thin piece of salmon, you could let this just sit for 2 days, but this is a pretty thick piece, so I'm going to let it sit for 3 days or 72 hours. And I'm going to put another one of these trays on top of it, and a couple of heavy cans to press it, and I'm going to put it in the fridge for 3 days. Halfway through the time in the fridge, I'm going to turn it over. Other than that, that's all we have to do at this point, and I'll see you in 3 days. My salmon's been marinating in the salt pack for 3 days or 72 hours. You'll note that I did that in a non-reactive container. Non-reactive means glass, ceramic, plastic, food-grade plastic, stainless steel. What you can't use is aluminum or ferrous metal pans because they'll give an off taste. So now that it's been in the pack for 72 hours, we're just going to take the plastic off, and you'll note how much liquid formed. That's normal. And we're just going to take the citrus fruit off of the salmon. Turn it over to get the lemons off the other side. Now the salmon will feel quite firm because you've taken a lot of liquid out, and that's what you want to do. So now that we've got it with all the citrus off of it, I'm just going to put it in a pot. And I'm going to take this pot over to the sink, and I'm going to rinse the salmon off under some cold water. Then I'm going to fill the pot with cold water and soak the salmon for 1 hour to get the surface salt off. I'll be changing the water twice during that hour to make sure I get the surface salt off the salmon. I soaked the salmon in cold water for an hour and changed the water twice in that period of time. And I've just taken it out and put on a board. Now what you want to do is just pat any excess liquid off of the surface of the salmon. And right there, you actually have lox. You don't need to do anything more. That is the classic lox. Just done with the salt, my little addition of some citrus, and you have a piece of cured salmon lox. Now, you can go right ahead and slice this up and eat it right now. Matter of fact, I'm going to take some slices off of this just so I can compare it to the smoked version, because I'm going to take this and put a bit of smoke on it, just because that's a little extra that I like. Now to cut the lox, just cut thin slices at an angle across the grain. I'm just going to take 2 or 3 slices off, one to try now, and one for a side-by-side comparison with the smoked lox. So there we've sliced some off. Now, before I try it, there's something you should know about eating lox. There is some risk involved with it because what you have here is an uncooked piece of fish. And there is the possibility that there might be some parasites in it. Now you can eliminate that to almost zero by either buying your salmon as a chunk that was commercially frozen, or if you've got a piece of fresh salmon, freeze it yourself for at least 2 weeks in a deep freeze. That'll kill any kind of parasite that's in the salmon. But I've sliced some off. Let's just give it a try now. Just see how it tastes. That is so luscious. It's creamy on your tongue. It's got a nice salt, of course, from being packed in salt, just like lox. But the little touch of citrus, not as much as you think there'd be, just that little hint of freshness from the citrus really makes it wonderful. This is a great lox just the way it is, but I'm going to take the rest of this out and give it a quick cold smoke. And we'll talk to you when I get out there. I've got my salmon in the smoker. And as you see, it's got a good smoke rolling. Now this particular smoker has a little heater that will just produce smoke and not the big heaters that produce heat within the smoker. That gives me the ability to cold smoke, because what you want is for the chamber in here not to get over 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want to cook the salmon, you just want to put some cold smoke on it. Now if you don't have a smoker, you can still cold smoke. You can get what's called a smoke generator. This is a tube with holes in it, and you fill it up with barbecue wood pellets. They have to be specific pellets for barbecuing. You fill it up, light one end, and it slowly smokes down and gives off smoke over a period of time without generating a lot of heat. You can just put that in your barbecue with the salmon, shut the lid, and let it roll with the smoke coming off of it. This is just a different kind that is a maze that you fill with pellets, light one end, and it slowly smokes through. So you can cold smoke even if you don't have a smoker. Just put a smoke generator in your barbecue with the salmon. Now I'm going to smoke this for about an hour because I like a medium light smoke. Try it. If you like less smoke, go less than an hour. If you like more smoke, go more than an hour the next time. But an hour is a good place to try. So we'll come back after this is smoked for an hour and we'll take it inside. I cold smoked the salmon for an hour. And now it's just got to sit overnight in the fridge to let the smoke even out. So I'm going to wrap it in some plastic wrap, put it in the fridge, and I'll see you tomorrow. So we wrapped our smoked lox in plastic wrap, put it in the fridge for at least overnight. Whole day's a bit better, but you can go overnight. And now I have the salmon I cut off unsmoked, and let's slice off some of the smoked lox. Just take thin slices against the grain, and you have some smoked lox. Now, let's compare the two. The unsmoked is so fresh, touch of citrus, creamy and luxurious, just like eating some wonderful fresh ocean. It's wonderful and delicious. Let's try some of the smoked lox now. It still has the creamy saltiness and the wonderful little touch of citrus, but the smoke just gives it a rich background of smoky flavor. It's really a matter of personal choice whether you like your Lox traditional, which is unsmoked, or smoked, which I have done here. They're both really good. But if you really want to appreciate Lox, in my opinion, you have to have it on a bagel with some cream cheese and try it like that, because that's a very traditional breakfast. There's a reason that's a classic breakfast. The Lox gives a richness in your mouth with the salt and the little bit of citrus and the creaminess, mixed with a little bit sharper cream cheese on the wonderful chew of a bagel. That's a breakfast that anybody would love. And it is so easy that you can make it.
I have a good woman. I ain't good looking, but I do some cooking. I'm the old fat guy. So use that oven if you want some lovin'. Be like the old fat guy. Be like the old fat guy.